Niti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Swamiji talked about losing his voice. I lost the tip of my finger, so I have to keep it like this. We start everything with a prayer. That's part of our culture. In fact, in Tamil Nadu, I don't think we ever start writing anything without putting a Pulliyar Shuya on top of the page, every page. Because we recognize Ishvara in everything. In fact, we recognize everything is Ishvara. There is not one God, there are not many gods, there is only one God, only God. Everything is Ishvara. With this recognition, culturally, if you look at the way we perceive the world, we pray to anything. Animate, inanimate, it doesn't matter. Because we recognize everything is Ishvara. In fact, if you look at any ancient culture, the same recognition you see also in them. Most have died. Ours is one of the very few living cultures which has come from very long past. Somewhere along the line, there is a new norm that has been set up by our own society worldwide, where we have lost this recognition. This recognition of Ishvara in everything is reflected in our culture, where our Shastras dictate that your entire life is a yajna. Everything I do is an offering to Ishvara. And it recognizes this as Pancha Maha Yajna. Daiva Yajna, which is direct recognition and prayer to Ishvara. Brahma Yajna, which is the prayer to our Shastras, our scriptures, which don't have an author. No human being claims he or she has written the Shastra. We pay our respects, we pray to that, because that is the guiding force. Guiding force not only for our own lives, but also one that gives us clear purpose of life. It's an issue that I find across the world, that most people are struggling because they don't know what they want. And the answer is there in the Shastras. Then there is Pitri Yajna. We recognize our ancestors. So everything we do, in terms of tarpana that we do and all the other activities, are directed at our ancestors. There are two more yajnas, which is probably more relevant to what we are talking about today. One is called Bhuta Yajna. Every being in this jagat is a Bhuta. That we do not only not cause harm to other beings, but also do what we can to support other beings who need support. And last but not the least is Manushya Yajna. Manushya Yajna, as separated from Bhuta Yajna, for the humankind. We have a variety of sufferings within the humankind. People are struggling physically, emotionally, intellectually, and even though we may not know it, a very large percentage of us suffer because we don't know what we want. These two yajnas, recognizing in them Ishvara, in every Bhuta recognizing Ishvara, in every Manushya recognizing Ishvara, is part of what our scriptures tell us we should do. And therefore, we do what we can for these groups. Starting from something as simple as watering a tree, maintaining and allowing to grow, not harming animals and insects or human beings in any way, supporting them, allowing them to grow, is all part of this yajna, with the recognition of Ishvara in all of them. Swamiji used to say that in life we are both consumers and contributors. And every single one of us must examine, am I more of a consumer than a contributor? There's a beautiful word in Sanskritam for this, called subhiksha. When in any group, be it a company, be it a city or village or a small society, when every single individual in that group contributes more than he or she consumes, then you have subhiksha. What a beautiful concept. There isn't an equivalent word I can think of in any other language. When we examine, I'm an individual in the society, am I consuming from the society or am I contributing? An examination I think each one of us needs to do. I am a corporate entity. Am I a consumer from the society, from the various bhutas and manushyas in the society, or am I a contributor? Even in a family, when every member of the family can feel that I am contributing more than I'm consuming, you will find subhiksha, you will find happiness in that family. Nobody is a parasite on anybody else. Everybody is looking and saying, what can I contribute? This, the way I'm looking at it, is not restricted to a small society, a small town, across the entire world. But it would make a beginning somewhere. And the beginning has to be where you are, close to where you are. Start with that. It can expand. The center of my geoposition center is I. This body, this mind, this intellect, this senses. Around me I have an immediate circle of perhaps my closest relatives, sons, daughters, parents. Around that I have another layer, maybe my village, my society, my religion, my whatever else, of which I'm a part, of that group I'm a part. My company. But you can keep on expanding. There is no limit saying, I should not do anything there? Why do people go and help people somewhere else? Forget about helping people. When there's a disaster somewhere else in the world, don't you feel a pang? That connection is there always. So starting with where you are, within that immediate circle, your family, the company, the city, the village, the small area you live in, if one can look at what I can contribute, then we are in sync with what our Indian idea of responsibility is. Many times, we see people seeking help. Sometimes you don't even see them seeking help. I remember once in my Purvashrama days, I was driving in Delhi and I had pulled up to make a call. And one very elderly Sardar came to the window, tapped on it, and asked for something. Normally, as a rule, I would not give to anybody who comes and asks for something like this, because I don't know what they're going to do with it. He walked on. Something struck me. I said, there is something which is not gelling. The first thing was, has anybody ever seen a Sardar beg? You won't see them. You will never see a Sardar begging on the street. So something said, something is not right. By the time he'd already moved on ahead a little bit. So I drove the car a little further. I stopped near him and I asked him, Kya was ji? And then he said he'd come from Jalandhar, I think he said. He was living with some friends, he's a carpenter, and somebody told him that he can get some work in Noida. Now that's about 30 kilometers or more. He went all the way there and found that for whatever reason, the job was not there. And he was walking back, elderly man. I said, this is a patram which is appropriate to give. So I gave him a fairly substantial amount of money and told him, go first, eat something. I asked him, have you eaten something? He said, he did not eat anything the whole day. So he only was asking for a bus fare to go back to Rajouri Garden or wherever he was. I told him, gave him sufficient money, I said, go and eat something first, then take a bus and go back home. In the Gita, Bhagavan talks about how giving itself breaks into three parts. Sattvic giving, Rajasic giving, and Tamasic giving. Datavyam iti dhanam tad yad dhanam diyate anupakarine. Deshe kale cha patre cha tad dhanam satvikam uchyate. Give to somebody who needs it, to the right person. Patre. Deshe, give at the time when the person needs that help. There's been an accident on the streets. Nowadays I read all these very strange reports. Even the police says, no, my car will get dirty if I take him to the hospital. What kind of thinking is that? I'll come back, I'll bring one plastic piece and then I will take him to the hospital. Deshe, at that time when he needs kale. In the corporate world, we also have this responsibility for the society. And what we need to do is, to check who is the right person we need to give to, when do we need to give to the person. It need not just be money. It could be much more than that. We did a project back in Bangalore some years ago where we planted 30,000 trees. And we went to the corporates and asked for help. So many of them pitched in, said, from my CSR budget I will give. So what would happen is if an ANZ or any of the other companies would say, okay, we'd fix a particular day, those people will come to that spot where we have the plantation planned. 30, 40, 50 of them will come, typically on a Sunday. We'd have had the pitch dug ready, we'd have the plants from the forest department ready. So they would make it an event for themselves. It's not just that they paid money to plant X number of trees. They'd all get involved. Nice fancy gloves and all they'll come with, packed lunches, and very interestingly, spend the whole day there planting trees. Now, it is not just money. It is involvement as well. Of course, there's another matter that in one particular instance, we'd spent 6 o'clock, we went there and we'd spent time with all these people, started them off. By about 11 o'clock, then we decided to go back for a while. And as soon as I sat down to eat something, I got a call saying somebody has come from the forest department, he's not allowing us to plant. So I dropped everything and rushed back to that, this was down a lake, dried lake bed. And this fellow was there and saying, no, I won't allow you to plant trees. So I asked him, who are you? He said, I'm from the forest department. So I said, show me your ID. I took his ID from him, and we had actually tied up with the forest department at the highest level. We got permissions for everything. Then I fired him. We are trying to do your job. You should be planting trees, not preventing others from planting trees. I said, you take your ID card, I'm not giving it back to you, from the chief conservator. I'm going to go and give it to him. Afterwards, of course, he came down. He didn't know what. They're looking to make some few rupees on an activity which should have been a responsible activity for the society, not for earning 100 rupees for him. Any dhanam one gives, if it is a sattvic dhanam, it is not with an agenda which says, what is there in it for me? There is always a what is there in it for me. But not in terms of saying, okay, I do this, how much publicity can I get? How will it add to my bottom line? Can I use it to make some, gain some mileage out of this for the company? You give, and not because the government says you must spend X amount of money in CSR, therefore I have to spend the money. Now, the person in charge of CSR has to explain to the management that I have spent the money. It's like, some of the training programs we used to do. The person in charge of the training is given a mandate. Every employee must go to an average of 7 days of training in a year, for example. So his only concern is at the end of the year, when I submit my report, I've said, on an average, we've done 8.3 days of training per person. What training did you do? What benefit did you get out of that? Like that. The CSR also should not go that route. That CSR is meant to see that one contributes to the society, of which you're a part. And I liked what Swamiji said about, look at what some of these organizations are doing. You don't even get to know about them. Whether it is Art of Living, whether it's Ramakrishna Mission, whether it is Mata Anandamayi, or whether it is any of these organizations. We only see that they are, in quotes, spiritual organizations. And somehow in today's world in India, that seems to be a taboo if you're a Hindu spiritual organization. There are enough people waiting to pounce saying, no, we want to be secular. Wait a minute. Have you understood what secular is? Somehow we've lost this idea that what has been coming down for thousands of years as a matter of our culture, we are not allowing it to grow. Fortunately, it has not yet died. We still have enough people saying this is what we should do, but we have enough opponents as well. I remember once, many years ago, I was traveling in the Himalayas. We ran across some ashram. I don't even remember now what ashram this was, and it was quite remote. So the only fuel they had was wood they would cut from the forest. And I was a young man at that time, and I had all the notions that I had read in the papers that we should not cut trees. I didn't ask, but one of the other people who was senior to me in the trip asked the Swamiji there, Swamiji, isn't it incorrect to cut trees? All the forest department says you have to take permission and all that. He said, we do it exactly the way it should be done. Before we cut a tree, we pray to the tree. We apologize for cutting it because we need the fuel. We can't sustain ourselves without the fuel. And he said, for every tree we cut, we plant a minimum of 10 trees and we make sure that they grow. That is the culture. The thought is that I as an individual, I as a corporate entity should be contributing more than I'm consuming. And if our own people can look at it from that perspective, not because somebody is forcing me to do something, or because I'm looking at the bottom line, we will have Subhiksha. And I think that's what we should strive for. Subhiksha. With that, I'll close this. Thank you very much. I'll be open to any discussions, any questions later. Thank you very much.